Hey, this is Justin Bryant with Two Notes Audio Engineering. I'm in Nashville at NAMM 2021 in the summer with DEF CON Clark. So we've done so well with the CAB-M Plus that I have my demo boxes, which are the CAB-Ms, but they've been updated to the CAB-M Plus firmware. So the big thing that we've got going on here is we've got the George Lynch and the Phil X CAB packs. The Phil X came out today, and the George Lynch pack came out last week. And what those are, I went to California at Henson Studios with George Lynch. We took 5 of his very special cabinets, one of them being one of Ed Van Halen's old cabinets. We profiled them end to end, and we are commercially making them available for sale. And then we also just released the Phil X pack, as I said today, which is 5 of Phil's cabinets, which includes a couple different 412 sequences, the 212, and a 1x8 and a 2x10 amp. So those are all his go-to studio live cabinets, and we've got those now inside of our downloadable cab packs. So the CAB-M Plus, which is upgraded from the CAB-M, we've had a lot of features. First of all, we have a preamp section which is based off of a early 70s basement amp, and what we wanted to do was make the ultimate preamp platform, so you could use any of your favorite stomp boxes and use this basically as your virtual amplifier. And then we've updated the 2 power section drastically with new models from everything from 6L6s to KT88s, and we've completely revoiced those. We now included an enhancer section, and we've got a ton of different reverbs here, as you can see. So these are doing very well. They're great as just a end-to-end pedal platform for someone that wants a direct solution, and they still work great as the back end of an amplifier when you're running a cabinet. The piece that we've been known for since NAMM of last year that launched last May that has done tremendously well, from home recording to touring professionals, is the Captor X. And the Captor X is a load box. It handles up to 100 watts, and it's the smallest form factor load box out there, but it's got a lot of other tricks inside of it. First of all, we've got a phones level which also controls the master level. The voice and control is something that we came up with a long time ago, which controls everything from a boosted mid-range to a tighter V mid-range. And then the space control will control reverb or the twin tracker feature, which I'll talk about in a second. And then we've tried to make this very simple so you don't necessarily have to use an interface. We made it so you can plug straight into it and you can access very quickly any 6 presets from the front panel. So in the back, we've crammed this so full of features that we don't even have room for an on-off switch. So a couple big features is there's a left and right output here that you can use to run any of the stereo effects like the twin tracker or stereo reverb, or if you want to run front of house or your recording console left and right. You can also split these as a right, dry, or left monitor mix. So if you're running one to front of house and you want a separate EQ, separate reverb channel, which is great for in-ear monitors or even just regular monitors, you can get completely different mixes. So your front of house level could be right here, unchanged by you, and then you've got complete control of your own mix through that output. And then lastly, we have a wet-dry type of configuration you can do with this, where you could have one of these set up as an affected track, which means with the cabin mic models, and you can have one of these as a dry or reamp track later when you don't feel like committing to that track. You can do that later. And then a couple other big features here is this is actually full MIDI. I don't have the MIDI jack plugged in, but it's actually full MIDI end implementation, so it will interface with any third-party MIDI system. You can control any of the parameters from patch changes to real continuous control. And then a big feature in this that doesn't always get noticed is there's an attenuator in here. Up full means no attenuation. In the middle is -20 dB, which is good for decent club level, and then -38, which is great for bedroom player, so you can still use the cabinet without being loud. Or if you don't want any attenuation at all, you can just unplug the speaker cabinet completely, and then you're completely silent. So something that's kind of unique with Two Notes that's not done with a lot of other companies, you see that I'm using an iPad here as the interface for the Captor X. You can use an iPad, you can use an Android, you can use an Android phone, you can use an iPhone. We don't have any kind of proprietary, you must use an iPad or you must use an iPhone. It's actually open to all devices. And I have it in landscape mode so you can see all the functions and features here. There's a lot of things that are inherited from our Wall of Sound plugin that were also in the CAB-M. One thing I didn't cover in the CAB-M is there's a smart gate. So you literally mute your strings, have your amp setting where you want, hit the learn button and engage the gate, and it will learn where your noise level is, and then it will adjust the threshold accordingly. Every one of our products, from the CAB-M to the Captor X, includes 8 microphones per cabinet. Once again, we're on the George Lynch series. This is his early 70s Marshall cabinet. We profiled 8 microphones at Henson Studios in LA, so you can pick any combination you want of these microphones and you can blend them. And the great thing is they're always perfectly in phase. We've also included an EQ feature in there, so you can fine-tune any of the frequencies you want. And then if you want to be a super tweaker, you can actually do kind of a semi-parametric / parametric type of setup over there. And then down here we have an enhancer, which is a great way to boost the low, mid, and high frequencies to just give you a little extra bite or a little extra beef without necessarily changing the tone drastically. But you can, but a little bit of this tends to go a long way and just kind of sweeten up the sound. And then we have our reverb here, which when you use it in stereo with stereo headphones, the custom reverb down there is actually in stereo, and you can control everything from the width to the size, the flavor or color of it, so to speak, and get a ton of functionality. Something that's very exclusive to the Captor X is the twin tracker, which is sort of a doubling type of effect. The best way to say it's like tracking your guitar twice. It offsets with delay versus modulation, so it's more of a twin tracking mimic, I guess is the word I'll say gently, but it creates an amazing stereo spread both when you're tracking and with headphones. And as I said before, you can get 3 different types of output. So first, it's just we're set up for stereo. I hit it, then you see that we have a left and right, and then on the right side here we can control a separate EQ for a monitor mix, and then you also notice that we have different mid-range controls for that as well. And then also we can control the dry-wet, so we could have one dry, one left control, or we can split the reverb and twin tracker. So in short, when you're in the wet-dry split signal here, you can use reverb only on the monitor section or differently from the main outs. So what we're also featuring again is the George Lynch pack, which came out this week, which has 5 of George cabinets from his favorite Marshall that he's used since the Dawkins days, his favorite high-watt cab with original fanes from the late 60s. We have an orange cabinet from the late 60s, early 70s with original square back eminence from the UK. And then we have something very special. We have 2 different models or profiles of one of Ed Van Halen's cabinets that George bought from Ed in the very early 80s. And this cabinet right here is VH1, which is the Greenback 25. And this cabinet here is VH2, which uses the JBL T120Fs. And the thing with Ed was on the first 2 records, he would blend the JBLs with the Celestion speakers to get the unique sound of the first 2 records. And hold on. And then what we just released today, the first day of NAMM, is the Phil X collection. So with Phil, we did this at Ocean Way Studios together. This is Phil's 1960 Marshall cabinet with G1275s. And what's unique about this cabinet, and I'll flip it backwards, is it's very well worn, but these 75s are very smooth and very rounded from literally thousands and thousands of gigs and thousands of hours of play. So they totally have smoothed out and round out. This is his go-to #1 cabinet. And then a company called MLC made this custom 412 for him. It's front-loaded with Veteran 30 speakers. It has a very unique sound, very tight, but very percussive, with a nice aggressive bite. And then Phil has a pretty unique speaker here. He's got actually, and you see that it's upside down, and the wheel's broken. It's a Marshall 212 PA cabinet loaded with G1265 speakers. This is probably arguably his favorite cabinet, and the wheel broke off, so we actually profiled it upside down like that. So again, you'll see that the wheel's broken up here, and the Tolex is torn just like that. And then lastly, we got a couple special things in here that's very important to Phil, but he loves to use this small 8-inch Supro cabinet that he's actually cut open so he can get the microphone closer. And it has a very unique kind of snarl to it, and he actually doesn't use the amp that's connected to it, he uses the speaker, so he'll use an amp and run long speaker cables to another room just to mic that speaker. Again, very unique to Phil, and he loves to blend that with other amps. And then something that Phil got very popular for from Fred and Americana is the Tone Master amp, which we call the Master of Tone. This is his original Magnatone from the 50s that's got an original 10-inch Jensen, also from the 50s, that again has thousands and thousands of hours, and it's just got this very smooth sheen to it that's just got this great bark, but it's not aggressive, but it just fits perfectly in a mix.